And Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Still about 65 degrees in the greater DMV, Washington, D.C. region. Mid-Atlantic had just a lovely day today. Much of the East Coast had a decent day. It is looking like another good one tomorrow, as you can see here with our forecast at a glance on CapitalWeatherGang.com, always available for you. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are the midweek summer-like temperatures we are expecting. And for the latest forecast, go to CWG.news/latest, and you'll get the full details on the near term and the full week ahead. We have other links in there for you as well. And as always, I love seeing you on these Sunday Sunset Chats. Thank you so much for tuning in, Kathleen. Hope you're doing well. Hey, Michael, hello. Later and later evening sunsets, evening light lovers, you are in better and better shape as we head in the DC area toward our latest sunset on the June solstice around 8:37 p.m. for our region. And look at that daylight from sunrise to sunset, over 13 and a half hours of day length. And thank you for any platform you might tune in from today. We're available on all three of these, even have an Instagram account, but these three are streaming simulcast our live Sunday Sunset weekly Q&As live. So let me know if you have any questions or comments. This week's pattern is driven by upper levels. A ridge is going to build in. You can see the jet stream bowing north and eastward over us. Then we have a transition later this week into the weekend. We cool back down, maybe again below average, which is still comfortable this time of year, around 70, 72 degrees for much of the mid-Atlantic for high temperatures. But it's a little bit turbulent by the time we get to maybe a slight chance of a shower Wednesday. Thursday night could be our highest chance in the mid-Atlantic and DC area for rain as we get these two storm systems kind of between those in the Canadian provinces and just south of us toward Florida. We could sneak out a decent weekend, albeit cooler, for Saturday and Sunday. So stay tuned as we get closer to CapitalWeatherGang.com. We will keep you posted. All right, here's the latest for you, forecast at a glance. Deborah, thanks so much for tuning in, kind words. And that Friday rain chance, will it be a passing shower or more of a rain? I think a passing rain chance. We could have a decent time of it on Friday. You can see here 20% chance of a rain on Friday. The question is, do we have one last little piece of energy move through kind of late Friday into Friday night to give us another chance of showers before clearing us out for the weekend? That remains to be seen, but Joe, I don't think a washout is looking likely on Friday. Annette, enjoyed your Sunday. Excellent. Excellent. Rick is seeing a good sunset tonight as well. Arlene, hello, Virginia Beach. I'm glad you're enjoying the weather. And best time of year, says Joe, with the weather and the late sunsets. I totally agree. And let's see, Deborah, thank you for tuning in. And Pat, the pollen count looks like it could last a couple more weeks. Let's go to that really quick. Still high for trees. I am an allergy sufferer as well. Don't look at my eyes too carefully. They are feeling, I think the oak pollen is really getting to me, and I don't think birch. But here are the species. It depends on the species you're most allergic to, but overall trees are still going strong for maybe a couple more weeks. But the good news is, rain again comes into the forecast by Thursday into Thursday night. It's the kind of the highest chance zone, so that should wash out a little bit of pollen by the time the end of the week and maybe beginning of the weekend gets here. So keep that in mind. We're not predicting a quick end of the season, but we do have at least a break after the heat tries to move out of here by kind of Thursday nights and early Friday. So I'm sorry, allergy sufferers, not for better news. With these temperatures, we expect still some challenging pollen levels for us later this week. All right. Yep. Charlene is also talking about tree pollen. Downward swing slowly, Charlene, but give it a couple more weeks. Indeed, allergies have been very bad for those of us with kind of birch, and especially the oak pollen is going strong. Joe, you're most welcome. Thanks for tuning in. And Paul, weekend weather in Williamsburg, it should be fairly comfortable. I will give you my beginning of a sneak peek. It's a little far out, but stay tuned as we get closer to CapitalWeatherGang.com. Looking like it could be fairly comfortable in the mid-Atlantic, Williamsburg, DC, even up to New York City. A little below average, but average is getting pretty darn comfortable this time of year. So what is a couple degrees below average? Not a big deal at all, I would say. So the question is, do we see a couple errant clouds and raindrops? That's still possible. But overall, we think it's trending dry for the weekend and fairly decent temperatures. So I hope you enjoy your weekend there in Williamsburg. Thank you so much for tuning in, Paul. Now let's go over our current average as of today, you're speaking to me here on this Sunday, it's 70 for a high temperature at DCA Airport in Washington, D.C., 50 for a low temperature. And let's look ahead to next Sunday, 72. We go another 2 degrees higher in our high temperature. So when we look ahead to next work week, when you talk to me next Sunday, the average high will be 72. We're looking at next work week, just to give you a sneak peek, looking like temperatures could swing back to above average after maybe a slightly cooler weekend this upcoming weekend, cooler than average. But again, averages are pretty darn comfortable, fairly warm, I would argue, so a little below average, not so bad at all anymore. And a quick look at precipitation next work week. No major signals either way, could be a hair above average. So I guess I want your takeaway to be the atmosphere is not sending a major wet or major dry signal for next work week either. Just thought you would like to see the trends for the upcoming next work week as well, 8 to 14 days out. All right, let me take some questions and comments. Here's your forecast at a glance. Midweek heat will build maybe near 90 degrees on Wednesday. Could even see a quick shower, maybe an isolated storm, spotty storm. But the heat does break by later Thursday into Friday as well. For the latest, go to CWG.news/latest. I'm Camden Walker. Thank you so much for tuning into our weekly Sunday Sunset Q&A chats. I love seeing you every weekend. As the sun sets later and later, keep that in mind as well. We are going to be speaking later and later as we get toward the June solstice as well. Now up to 7:55 p.m. for these sunsets. All right, so questions and comments. Let's see. No more freeze warnings, Dawn. Fingers crossed. Most of the region should be past the last frost and freeze, but I will say, at least through Mother's Day last year, we had a frost and freeze along the I-81 corridor. So if you were in the light blue, please still keep it cautious for planting those most sensitive items outside. And a potted planter is fine if you can bring them in on some of the cold nights. We could still see a couple here and there, especially along and west of I-81. So keep that in mind. So hopefully, Annette, we can get you planting more and more soon. And Dawn as well. Thank you so much. Helen says, Chris is making a reference to tornadoes. So far, no tornadoes in our forecast. That is most excellent here in the mid-Atlantic and Washington, D.C. area. Paul, thanks for tuning in. You're most welcome. And Peter, hello. And Paul, no worries. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your questions. And Dwayne, warmer than average looks possible. Not only midweek this week, which let me show you this. We could be maybe 20 degrees or more above average for the middle part of this week. These are the departures from average for this Wednesday. Look at that. We could be over 21 degrees or so above our average high temperatures, which are around 71 degrees for a high temperature average for this upcoming week at DCA Airport in Washington, D.C. So keep that in mind. And just how warm are we talking? Yep, near 90 is possible along some of the parts of the I-95 corridor. So please, I guess, no need to take major precautions, but be aware you could have a little bit of heat shock to your system. We're not used to seeing temperatures below or above average. This is above average, 20 plus degrees above average possible on Wednesday. And we certainly haven't had 20 degrees below average anytime recently. So keep that in mind. It's going to be noticeable. Humidity levels should remain under control, but I can't rule out maybe a hint of moistness to the air, but still fairly comfortable. Trying to keep those dew points below 60, but I won't make too many promises. Jess, hello. I love seeing you. I hope you're doing well in the patio and garden. That's awesome. Alex, finally some heat for you near 90 degrees. Yes, indeed. We could be pretty warm by the middle of this week. 20 degrees or so above average will be noticeable. Will not feel so easy to get into for this time of year. Our bodies could have a little bit of adjustment period, especially on Wednesday. Krila, so we're asking if you can plant your tomatoes. If you are along and east of I-95, I say why not? Along and west of I-81 there in the light blue, please stay cautious through Mother's Day weekend. Remember last year in the I-81 corridor we had a frost and freeze. So please keep those planters mobile if you live along or west of I-81. You can bring them indoors for the 1 or 2 cold nights we might still experience along and west of I-81. All right. Oh, Kenny asked about cicadas, and indeed, I I am happy to report we have everything available for you at CWG.news/cicadas, the maps of where they most occur, all the links we have at CWG.news/cicadas. All your Q&As have been answered, but the peak period for when we could hear a lot of that noise coming up with this latest brood is latter half of May. All right, Gail, I am missing the sunset. You must have a good one near you. I don't have too much of a sunset here, but please send those pictures in to any of our social media accounts. You can tag us on Twitter at Capital Weather and go to CWG.news/Facebook, and also on YouTube. Make sure you can upload a picture into our comment section there as well. So thanks to all of you for tuning in on all of our platforms. No matter where you are, I'm seeing your questions and comments come in. So I'm sorry, Gail, to miss that sunset. And Drew, no severe weather chances look likely this upcoming week, but we'll of course keep a wary eye on it with such heat around. We don't have a huge bubbling effect from the humidity and moisture in the atmosphere this upcoming week, and so it doesn't look like a huge regime change that could markedly, with a strong cold front, change us into a colder air mass for this upcoming weekend, although it could be a little bit below average this weekend. Not terrible. Average is warm this time of year, I would argue. We're in good shape after we get past this midweek heat, which a little too hot too soon, I would argue, for Wednesday. Our hottest day this week could be near 90 degrees in a couple locations. Cannot rule that out. Jackson, Mark, hello. And I appreciate you tuning into these weekly Sunday sunset chats. I'm Camden Walker. Thanks for tuning in. And anytime you need us, we're at capitalweathergang.com. As you'll see on capitalweathergang.com, we've got also our forecast at a glance and CWG.news/latest, a link that will take you directly to our latest PM update. All right, humidity level not looking too bad, Evan, this upcoming week. And the more absolute measure that we use for how we're going to feel is dew point. So dew point levels this upcoming week, 55 to 60 range, maybe some low 60s, but you can still see not too unpleasant, not too much humidity or that muggy feeling we might call it in the air this week. So that is what is lucky. These temperatures on Wednesday, even though yes, they could be near 90 in a couple of spots, we aren't going to have serious heat index values adding much to the thermometer temperature. We could feel relatively plus or minus a degree around what could be near 90 degrees on Wednesday, our hottest day of the week. Just want to flag that. It will be a little shock to our bodies because we're not used to seeing temperatures below average 20 degrees or much less above average 20 plus degrees potentially on this upcoming Wednesday, when it could be near 90 degrees. Creela, thanks for tuning in. You're most welcome. I'm glad I could help you. And indeed, Evan, we could see quite a day. I've seen over 40 degrees between the low temperature and the high temperature, especially in times of drought. When the ground is dry, we see a bigger diurnal difference in temperatures. And what that means when the sun rises during the daytime is what diurnal means, from low temperature in the morning, right around sunrise, to the afternoon, maybe as late as 6 p.m., right before the sun kind of starts setting substantially in the sky. We have seen around here 42 degree differences between low temperature and high temperature in any given day, especially around drought season. Maybe later in the fall, actually, we have a dry period where the ground is dry. So I hope that helps. It's not uncommon to see a 34 degree difference between low and high temperature in the mid-Atlantic or greater DC, Washington, DC area. Have a great week, Chris, you as well. Let's look at the forecast at a glance so you can see, as I take questions and comments, how it's looking pretty darn warm middle of this week. Let's see, you prefer this over January weather, it sounds like, Alex. I'm glad you were ready for the heat. You were ready for it and very eager. Andrew, you're most welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Dave, thanks for tuning in. That's great to see you. Heating it up. Yes, indeed, with fire emoji. How perfect, because Wednesday could be near 90 degrees. Not a guarantee we hit the 90 degree mark by any means, but just want to keep you posted and see the details at CWG.news/latest, or anytime you need us on capitalweathergang.com or any of our 3 social media sites, where you're seeing me live on all 3 of our sites tonight, and all your questions and comments. We're doing Q&A on all 3 platforms, so I hope that is convenient for you as well. But make sure you follow us and make sure you see me later and later. Know that you'll see me later and later as we get toward the June solstice, where our latest sunset in the DC area is around 8:37 p.m. But we're getting nearer and nearer that 8 p.m. sunset. And look at that daylight from sunrise to sunset, over 13 and a half hours of day length. That's pretty awesome. And what was I saying about Wednesday? Notable because over 20 degrees above average, our bodies are going to be in a tiny bit of a shock. Luckily, no major humidity to speak of to accompany the near 90 degree temperatures possible on Wednesday. So that is some solace. We can ease into it a little bit, but I would still argue Our bodies have not acclimated, especially to a big jump above average like this, much less below average. I mean, we'd feel it if it was 20 degrees below average, that's for sure. It'd be notable in our brains and our bodies, kind of a little bit of a acclimation shock, if you will. So just keep that in mind. It is going to be warm, but luckily not a major heat index with major humidity on top of these potential thermometer readings for later Wednesday as well. Will it be windy overnight before the hot day? Chris, I think after a little bit of a breeze tomorrow, and here's the next 24-hour wind gust potential, the next windy day I'm thinking is probably Friday. So I don't see much in the way of breeze after here's tomorrow. Breezes could still be around. And then again, maybe on Friday, behind the cold front that kind of cools us down for the weekend. So not expecting any hot winds if that's what you're after, like in the summertime. And here is the upper level pattern. A ridge builds over us starting tomorrow into Tuesday, especially Wednesday. Let's let it restart. There we go. So there's Monday and into Tuesday, a ridge of high pressure, the jet stream bowing up toward Canada, allowing some warmth and little hint of moisture and humidity almost to come in from the Gulf of Mexico to our southwest. So we will be feeling it, hopefully staying between those two storms you see swirling in eastern Canada and near Florida at the end of this loop for Saturday. We hopefully can squeeze some nice weather for our weekend between those two swirls in the upper levels of the atmosphere. All right. We are not totally going straight to summer, Liz, I would argue, since luckily, as much of a shock and too hot too soon, I would argue Wednesday might be, we don't stay that way for long. Yes, it is a warm midweek period. Our average high temperature is roughly 71 degrees at DCA Airport for this upcoming week, so notably above average, as I've been saying. But we cool back down. Thursday night could be a little bit rainy as a cold front comes through. Friday, trying to get some last showers out of here. And Saturday, we could stay below 70. I like refreshing temperatures like that, especially with the strong August. We have the equivalent of August sun out now, so keep that in mind. It's a very strong sun, high sun angle, high UV. Wear that sunscreen, please, at least between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. So keep that in mind. It's kind of a short burst of summer. That is the kind of the saving grace. We're going to be a little bit of a shock here, feeling our bodies acclimate on Wednesday as best possible, but at least it does not work too bad to last too long. All right. Dave, thank you very much for tuning in. You're most kind. And Charlene, thanks for tuning in to these weekly Sunday Sunset Chats. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Anytime you need us, we're at CapitalWeatherGang.com. Of course, CWG.news/latest for the latest forecast. And our 3 platforms I'm streaming to tonight live. Make sure you follow us on all 3 if you can. And I appreciate you tuning in. Always enjoy talking to you on these weekly Sunday Sunset Chats, which are getting later and later as our sunset inches toward the DC area, toward 8 p.m. and that daylight between sunrise and sunset now above 13 and a half hours. So that is pretty awesome. But note, you'll talk to me later and later as we head toward our latest sunset in the DC area, the Washington DC area, for 8:37 p.m. come the summer solstice, the June solstice. All right, so before I go in a couple minutes, let's recap tomorrow's breezes. Not too bothersome, but they're around. The next windy day this week could be Friday. So while we do see warmer temperatures, notably on Wednesday, potentially our hottest day of the week, near 90 degrees, breezes should be under control, maybe isolated, quick spotty shower or storm possible Wednesday, but higher rain chances Thursday and Thursday night. And again, Wednesday is a shock to our bodies a little bit, 20 degrees above average or a little more. It's hard for us to adjust to that something so quickly above average that our bodies are more used to average. And if I was looking at below average 20 degrees, minus 20 degrees, we would be in a little bit of a state of acclimation shock there as well. But just be prepared for a little blast of heat for the middle of this week. And again, frost and freezes we keep talking about with gardeners. If you're along and east of I-95, you're good to go. Along and west of I-81, stay cautious at least through Mother's Day weekend. Make sure those planters, you can maybe bring those sensitive plants indoors. We did have a frost and freeze Mother's Day last year, you might recall, if you live along and west of I-81. Oh, cicadas, we touched on those as well. Go to CWG.news/cicadas for all the details there. We're thinking latter half of May will be the peak when we are hearing all the loud voices of this latest brood that are beginning to hatch in the region. All right, Alex, warmer than last May. We will see. I've seen signals for May looking above average. And for a kind of a closer near-term forecast that I have a little bit more confidence looking out at the entire month of May, here is next work week, which does have a signal for moderate probability moderate chance of being above average. And keep in mind, average this time of year is pretty darn comfortable. So above 72 degrees for a high temperature here at DCA Airport, that is possible. We could be above that for some or all of next work week, perhaps. There are some warm signals in the atmosphere, so keep that in mind. By the time you talk to me next Sunday on these weekly Sunday Sunset Chats, our average high temperature will be 72 degrees at Washington, D.C. National Airport. And we're looking again at next work week, kind of 8 to 14 days out. Looks like we could be a little bit above average, which Alex will like. Thanks for joining me from YouTube, from CWG.news/YouTube. Alex, I appreciate it. Chris, thanks for tuning in. And wow, Dave, late June, you have light until 10:15. 10:15 p.m. I'm very jealous of that. That is awesome. You have a great week too, Aaron. Thank you so much for tuning in. I believe that is all from me for now. I've had a lovely 20-minute chat with you, and I very much appreciate it. Let's recap really quick because I hate leaving you in a lurch. Here it is, warm midweek weather. The latest details at CWG.news/latest. I'm Camden Walker. Anytime you need us, we're at capitalweathergang.com. Have a great and safe start to your week. Don't work too hard and stay cool. If you're around the DC area, and much of the East Coast will be warm for the middle part of this week, so take it a little easy on Wednesday, but luckily no massive humidity burst for any major mugginess feeling to accompany this heat by the middle part of this week. So take care and bye for now.